My standards draw the line here. This is the elevation protocol. Rising above the chaos, taking control. My values not negotiable, my worth is my law. Surrounding myself with excellence, that's what I saw. I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness. Demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. This is the elevation protocol. Rising above the chaos, taking control. My values not negotiable, my worth is my law. Surrounding myself with excellence, that's what I saw. This is the elevation protocol. Rising above the chaos, taking control. My values not negotiable, my worth is my law. Surrounding myself with excellence, that's what I saw. I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness. Demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness. Demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. Bridges to greatness, demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness. Demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness. Demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. My standards draw the line here. My standards draw the line here. I'm not building walls.
Let's see how I get up there. Top of the hour. How you doing, youngin? Royal Knight. Hello, hello. So we're just getting started. We're like, whoo, 20 minutes late. Uh, it happens. Things not going the way we wanted it to go, glitches and whatnot. But we're live 7 nights a week, and I mean, while we do not let the sun rise without going live, we don't always start on time, and that's why we ask you guys to like and subscribe, and then hit that notification button, and then mash those reaction buttons while you're on the show live. Because I mean, we got a lot of information for you guys, and we want to get a chance to get as much of it as possible. Uh, All of our short notice updates happen at the top of the show, so we ask you guys to dive in as soon as we get started, if possible, so that you can hear all the updates that we have before we start the topic of the day. So far, we just heard that Donald Trump just got himself. How you doing, D boy? Or Da boys? Okay, hello. Um, Donald Trump just talked about how he got like 10 boats of oil from Iran through the Strait of Hormuz. So I'm going to be trying to cover the progress of the war and how we're going to, like, what it's going to be doing for us. Because we already know like the short term and long term impacts of it. But we're going to look at how we're going to um, address what um, the progress of the war is going to do for us, meaning like, is it going to resolve itself anytime soon, or do we still believe that we're going to be projecting it going into um, June? Now, beyond that, we understand that DHS is still shut down. That might happen through the middle of April, since they have no reason to settle because the rest of the country is running. So the only people that aren't getting paid right now is TSA agents, really, because everybody else has got a budget. So now it's like, as far as that, stock's still running strong. We've got some information today. We're going to be talking to you guys about building your 30-year retirement thing. We've been telling you to at least get your 20-year plan together. I'm going to be giving you information today about why a 30-year plan is good too. And since we're live 7 nights a week, we cover different topics. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we cover business and politics. Monday, how your money is negatively impacted by politics, your ability to make, save, and invest money. Tuesdays, we discuss different ways to make money, save money, budget money, invest money so that you can turn over a decent profit. Then we go into Wednesday, we talk about different countries around the world that we invest in. And beyond that, we go to um, Thursday through Sunday, well, Thursday through Saturday, actually, where we talk about self improvement, self development, relationship topics, networking, socialization. We cover building your brand. We cover negotiating raises, promotions, retirement, severance packages. And then we usually tell you guys more about what to do with your 20-year plan so that you can really build a future for yourself so that you have something to fall back on. After that, we have on Sundays, we have questions and comments from the fans, appropriately structured questions about appropriate topics that are about how to help you guys be better you. When there are topics about me, that's going to be on like the private channels for the members only. So, you ask me about me, you to buy the membership and defer to a membership show, and then we'll talk. As it stands right now, if it's about you, I got you. I can help you guys fix you. Um, as you guys just seen with the boys, inappropriate comments will be immediately banned from this channel. So you want to be on your best behavior because we're here to we're not here to entertain everybody. We're here to educate everybody to help you guys make yourselves better by finding the pain points in your life, the things that suck about your life that you guys have trouble with, so that you guys can help with improving yourselves by finding another way. Michael said, whatever you decide to do, get started now. No better time to start getting wealthy than today. Bro, speaking of, I just seen a clip about how Myron, the leader of you say you're here to entertain. Myron, the head of Fresh and Fit, started $50,000 as like a security guard and TSA guy, and then went from like $50,000 a year to uh through Fresh and Fit, making himself like $1.1 million a year, and then he on YouTube and other social media platforms. And then after he got so big, he made himself to an $8 million a year man, and now he's like a multi-million-dollar individual by proxy of assets. After getting involved in real estate and other such scenarios, he started when he was like 22, 23 years old, like $50,000 a year. By the time he was 36, he's younger than we are, bro. 36, $8 million. He did it in 10. He did it in 10 years. He went to $8 million in 10 years just by b- building his brand, sticking to his core values, and projecting that throughout his podcast and sticking to the goals that those guys had set for themselves to be successful. And in less than 10 years, the guy made himself a millionaire, right? Hired a team of people to cover all the work that he didn't want to do. Now all he has to do is sit in front of the mic and talk. And at the end of the day, it's crazy how book deals, contracts, endorsements, everything that he was able to acquire going from the struggles of working a 9 to 5 all the way to doing in-person meetings in different places. It's crazy how individuals can change their whole life around. But I was like, wow, that's what's up. So I looked at that and I was like, damn, some of us are slacking if we haven't gotten there yet. We're in our 40s, 50s, 60s. We ain't got there yet. We're still working a 9 to 5. We probably should change the way we do what we do. So um, I'm just in a baffled scenario. So since you mentioned that, I was like, damn. Damn. So I know that it's possible. I see that it's possible. I see other people doing it around me. I'm doing it too. And I'm just like, man, for the people who don't get it done, there's nothing that I can tell them. Years from now, I can see this podcast being so huge. And I can see some people paying to put their comments on because so many people will be flowing into the comment section just trying to pay to get their comments on the screen. And it's going to be crazy where, at that time, I'm still going to be telling them, bro, if you would have been with me when this podcast was small, you should be a millionaire too. But when it comes down to building a retirement, just having a specific number isn't always what it's cracked up to be. So everyone seems to be chasing a magic number for retirement, right? And usually 7 figures is somewhere around what they're expecting. And it's plastered across financial news headlines, whispered by talking heads, and it's the goals that millions of people are running towards. Like even my homeboy, Mr. Pibbs, he swore that he wanted to make himself a millionaire by the end of, 2025, 2026. He has done nothing to achieve that, but that's a wishful thinking kind of scenario. I told him, I'm like, man, let's aim lower. Let's aim for like $250,000 in the next 3 years and see. Let's aim for more realistic goals and see if the establishment can pay for the overhead. You know what I mean? Where it's self sustainable, not just like I struck it big on the lottery, right? But these individuals are desperate to cross that finish. But what if I told you that focusing on that number is one of the biggest reasons people's retirement plans fail? See, the data shows that just hitting a specific number in your 401k can give you a false sense of security. It's a dangerous fantasy. It's like trying to navigate a cross country road trip by only knowing the total miles. That single number tells you nothing about the fuel efficiency of your car, the price of gas along the way, the inevitable detours, the mountain passes that you'll have to climb, or the sudden storms that you could force that could force you to pull over and stop. Right. So you'd never start a real journey with such a flimsy plan. So why would you stake your entire future on the same flimsy plan? Uh, Looking at that comment, Michael, I mean, I'm going to tell you that it's probably going to be exactly the same. There's no wishes hold no value is the appropriate way to put that. um, but in tonight's show, I'm going to explain why you don't need a magic number, but a concrete 30-year plan. It's not a 20-year plan. And I'm going to show you guys the 3 critical components that plan must have wealth, but reliance, confidence, and true peace of mind. Because you can hit $1 million and you can spend $1 million in less than a year. But if you managed your money correctly, Your $1 million can make you multiple millions of dollars. So we're also going to talk about the unorthodox realities of the modern retirement, unretiring, geo arbitrage, housing hacking, and even van life. Because I know that Michael talked about this from time to time, where you can just live out of your van and save you a bunch of money. It's possible, but it's roughing it unnecessarily. If you don't have anything holding you back from that, you can live a minimalist lifestyle where you really just deal with whatever you got going on in your van. You only got to pay for your vehicle's insurance, and then park your car in places where people don't fuck with you, and you can live right out of your van. I mean, Shaggy and Scooby ain't used to that. It's harder to do in modern 2025, but if you get your van with no windows, it's quite possible because they're not fringed anymore, right? They now have a growing number of people that are making retirement work in the real world in far more unorthodox ways than we ever thought possible. So let's start by dissecting this so-called magic number. A 2025 study by Northwestern Mutual Funds had found that Americans believe they need about $1.26 million to retire comfortably. While fascinating and a little alarming, it is that just 1 year prior to that, in 2024, that number was $1.46 million. So it dropped $200,000 in a single year to retire, just based on individuals' observations. Did retirement suddenly get cheaper? Of course not. It just shows how arbitrary and emotionally driven this number is. It's a reflection of market sentiment and inflation headlines, not a carefully calculated figure based on your individual needs. It's a guess, and frankly, it's a very bad one. Oh, if you can travel around the United States and hit all of the estate sales and sell his paintings and add a cabin to the rentals. Okay, that's another cash flow. All right, that is true. You could hit all these state sales. You can sell stuff along the way. You can truck and trailer that shit and buy stuff at one estate sale and carry it with you and stuff at another estate sale and sell your paintings and sell your work. You know, buy cabins along the way, live in them, and then rent them out, and then move on. If you have a management company maintain your cabins, then you could definitely have standalone self-sufficient cash flow, even if they're renting those cabins out as vacation homes. You'll be making some revenue off of them. The real shock comes when we compare this fantasy number to the financial reality for most people. And this is what I call the perception reality gap. And it's a sham. It also causes a huge chasm. While people think they need over a million, broader surveys of retirement have balances that tell a starkly different story. One 2025 analysis found that for households approaching retirement ages 55 to 64, the median retirement savings is about $185,000. And for 65 and 74 years of age, it is around $200,000. Not much of a difference. So the retirement aspect of individuals 55 to 64 is 185,000, and for 75 to or 65 to 75 is $200,000. Not the average, which is heavily skewed by the ultra wealthy, but the median, the middle number, the midpoint, person around 185 to $200,000, depending on age. I don't know if you're being sarcastic about that, but savings is actual money, not assets. Um, your portfolio or your net worth would include assets. So if you were talking about a person's net worth at retirement being $200,000, that would include the house. But if you're talking about a person's savings, that's not a person's investment portfolio. That's not a person's 401k or Roth IRA. It's just the savings. It's just the cash money that's been saved up. Okay. That's not necessarily like Bitcoin and gold or anything else that's included in that. That's like the cash that people have accessible to them when they quit working. So no, that holds no value on the house. But typically, the average American finances a house, lives on that financed house from mortgage payment to mortgage payment, paying the bare minimum. Uh, they reach a point where they need to do something to the house that requires them to take out a home equity loan. No matter how much they've put into the house, they usually take about 50 grand out of the equity in order to do repairs on the house. And then that puts them like kind of start over with paying off the house because they never built up enough money anywhere else to pay for anything. So now they've got two loans against the same house. Some people try to take out a third mortgage on the house if it's quite possible. And when they take out that third mortgage on the house, they're typically underwater with that house where they owe 80% of the after repair value on the house, which is pretty much all of the equity in the house. And your payments are significantly higher, but at least your house isn't broken, right? No, he said, I thought it all was the same. No, it's not. It's not all the same. So when you die, all of your assets are considered your estate. While you're alive, your assets, your net value is your estate. Your net value is everything you own, everything you make money from, everything you have access to. Your savings is part of your estate, but it is not your estate. Your investment portfolio is part of your estate, but it is not your estate. Your houses and cars and boats and townhomes and cabins in the woods is part of your estate, but it is not your estate. Your estate is a combination of all of those. So the fact that people only have like $200 in cash to pay for their retirement for the remainder of their life at 70 years old, expecting to live another 30 years off of 200 grand have, regardless of how many assets they have or don't have. That $200,000 is cash on hand. So that figure is worlds away from that $1.26 million wishful thinking that people threw out in the survey. The gap isn't just a gap; it's a canyon of financial insecurity. It shows that the entire conversation around the magic number is tailored to a tiny, high earning fraction of the population, the one percenters, leaving almost everyone else feeling hopeless or even worse, deluded. Recent surveys paint a grim picture of this particular anxiety. One from 2024 found that roughly 79% of Americans believe the nation is facing a retirement crisis. Another revealed that more than half of older adults, around 60% of them, are worried they won't have enough money to last through retirement. They see this disconnect firsthand. They know the magic number is a myth because they're living it in their reality. And here's where the unorthodox piece starts to creep in because the system pushes a fantasy number more and more, where the retirees are quietly rewriting the script. So in 2024 and 2025, about 19 or 20% of Americans 65 and older still in the workforce. And policy reports estimate that roughly 1 in 5 retirees will unretire at some point, either returning to work or starting a second career. Nigga, they don't got enough money crossing the spread. Not because they failed, but because the old definition of retirement doesn't match the economic or emotional reality anymore. So, why is this number so dangerous? It's not just that it's out of reach for most. The core flaw is that the magic number is fundamentally a statistic target in a dynamic world. It tells you nothing and it accounts for absolutely nothing, which makes it harder for you guys to prepare. First, it completely ignores your personal spending habits. Your retirement need isn't based on a national average, it's based on your life, your mortgage, your travel dreams, your healthcare needs, your hobbies. $1 million might be a fortune for someone in a low cost area with a paid off house and a simple taste, but it could be a hopefully inadequate level for someone in a major city with high property taxes and a desire to travel the world. The number is actually divorced from your reality. Second, it ignores the timeline of your spending. Your expenses in retirement aren't a straight line. Research shows a retirement spending smile where spending is higher in the early, more active years, dips in the middle, and then often rises again towards the end because of healthcare costs. So a single lump sum doesn't account for all of this. And this dynamic is like a 30-year journey. Third, a most critically observed scenario, the magic number is utterly defenseless. It has no strategy, nothing for the enemies of retirement, which are inflation, market crashes, and unexpected life events. That $1.26 million might sound impressive today, but with inflation running at just 3%, its purchasing power gets cut in half in about 24 years. That means by the time you're deep into retirement, your $1 million nest egg feels more like $500,000. It's a silent thief. And that thief is going to be the magic number that does nothing to guard against it. Now, finally, it's going to ignore the creative levers. And these levers are ones that real retirees are already using: geo arbitrage, house hacking, alternative housing, part time work to bend the math in their favor. If you pretend the only tool you have is a big 401k balance, you'll always feel behind. So we have to throw it out. We have to stop chasing a phantom and start building something real and durable. If the magic number is the myth, then the reality is a plan, a living, breathing 30-year plan. It's not about hitting one number, it's about creating a durable system for your money. So you want to think of it less like a finish line and more like a detailed flight plan for a 3 decade journey. After you quit working, with backup airports and alternative routes, and even the option to cheaper if fuel prices spike. And today, we're going to build that plan together. It rests on three foundational pillars: a cash flow blueprint, a risk management shield, and a behavioral cockpit. So let's start with the first and most important pillar. The first pillar requires the biggest mental shift you'll make in your entire financial life. I want you to stop and think about your nest egg. Banish the image of a giant pile of money from your mind. That pile is an abstraction. It's an abstract, intimidating, and it is not going to be helpful. Instead, I want you to start thinking about your retirement paycheck. That is it. That's going to be the shift. You're not trying to accumulate a giant, your abstract number. You are trying to build a system that will pay you a reliable, predictable paycheck every single month for the rest of your life, preferably one that's increasing. This reframes the entire problem from one of accumulation to one of cash flow generation. This is how financial professionals approach it, using what's called an income replacement ratio. The goal for most people is to generate between 55 and 80% of their pre retirement income. So, if you were earning $100,000 a year before you retire, the plan needs to generate somewhere between 65 and $80,000 a year. This immediately makes the problem more tangible. But how do we figure your specific number? How do we figure that out? It starts not with your assets, but with your expenses. You can't possibly know how much income you need if you don't have a crystal clear picture of what you will spend. And this is going to be the bedrock of your entire plan. So let's walk through it. Imagine a hypothetical couple. They're both in their 60s and they want to retire in 5 years. They sit down, build their cash flow blueprint. First thing they do is map out their future spending, not based on what they spend now, but on what they will spend in retirement. Break it down into core categories. In the housing category, their mortgage will be paid off, which is a huge win, but they still need to budget for property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and potential future repairs. This isn't going to be zero. It's going to be something, right? They're going to estimate this to be somewhere around $1,500 a month, depending on where you live. Now, here's where unorthodox strategies can change the game. Instead of just seeing housing as a cost, some retirees turn it into a profit center. For example, house hacking, renting out parts of your home or a separate unit has allowed some early retirees to cover 80% or more of their housing costs, effectively dropping their out of pocket housing expense to just a few $100s a month. Others downsize aggressively or even embrace RV or van living, cutting fixed housing costs so far that they can redirect thousands of dollars a year back into traveling or savings. You don't have to do that, but knowing it's on the menu gives you more levers than just save more money, right? Next is going to be healthcare. And this is the great unknown because the category that sinks so many unplanned retirees is healthcare. They know Medicare isn't free and doesn't cover everything, and they have to put a budget for Part B premiums, a supplemental Medigap plan, and a Part D prescription drug plan. Plus, they need to account for out of pocket costs. like dental, vision, and hearing, which Medicaid or Medicare generally don't cover. They budget a conservative $1,200 a month for this, and we haven't even touched long term care yet. So we'll get to that in the risk pillar. Then it's going to come the daily living, groceries, utilities, transportation. They figure their cost will be similar to now, maybe a little less without the daily commuting. They pencil in $1,500 a month here. Finally, there is the fun stuff, discretionary spending. This is going to be travel, hobbies, dining out, and spoiling the grandkids. This is a whole point of retirement for many people. They dream of taking two big trips a year and being able to eat out without guilt. They allocate a healthy $1,800 a month for this category. Adding it all up, 1,500 plus 1,200 plus 1,500 plus 1,800 gives them a total monthly spending need of about $6,000 or $72,000 a year. So either $6,000 a month or $72,000 a year, which is above what poor people live. Well, no, it's about average because two income families between 72 and 79,000 a year, where one of them's making about 35 and the other one's making like 42. So yeah, that's about, you know, the norm. FX Trader says, can't we front run the stock market trades like Nancy Pelosi? I mean, you can try. It's how you do it, and if it's legal, you can try. If you were to take, like I said before, if you take 50% or more of your income and you put it towards the stock market and you run a heavy portfolio that's going to be like 60 or 80% real estate investment trust, and then another 20% somewhere else, where you take the dividends from your real estate investment trust and your BDCs and redirect it to the other stuff in your portfolio, you can grow your portfolio quickly over a period of time, generating growth and generating wealth. And by the time that you reach retirement age, you've got a portfolio that's paying out 100% dividends, but half of it or more than half of it is REITs. You're in a scenario where you got a large quantity of cash coming to you, in spite of the growth. So you don't have to sell anything and just keep getting your dividends. At once you reach a certain level, you're able to take 50% of your dividends and re it back in to increase the portfolio to offset the inflation and live off the other 50%. But that also means that when you're reaching that $1 million status and you're making 150,000 to 200,000 a year off your brokerage account, that you're putting 75 to 100,000 back into your brokerage account every year and living off the other 75 to 100,000. I know you're kidding, but I know you're kidding, but I mean, in order for you to pull that off, you really have to put your money in the right spot because, like, Nancy's not capable of flipping the stock market like talking about it. She ain't have extra money lying around to make that shit happen. Just like with Martha Stewart, just like with Nicki Minaj. They're not able to cheat the system if they ain't have a shit ton of money somewhere to cheat the system with. The average 9 to 5er that's flipping burgers at a McDonald's don't got an extra $10 for a fucking scratch off. So they're not flipping the stock market like Nancy Pelosi able to do. But if they had a shit ton of money, yeah. But if you did that, you would have to do it in a way where it's generating extra money on the back end so that when you do quit doing it that way, you have a guaranteed stack sitting there that's giving you enough capital that you can reinvest back in. That's what you need. How you got there. Because the largest majority of women get their money out of divorce. And they can make themselves multi-billionaires after they took half of the man's estate. But not a lot of women go from being project poor to multi-millionaires without divorcing a rich man. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Women don't have to like that, but that's the truth. Outside of Oprah Winfrey, most women got theirs from divorce. If Donald Trump's wife divorced him and took half of his estate, she would be a $2 billion woman because her $4 billion husband gave her half of his estate, not because her $50 million made it to $2 billion. Her $50 million was inherited. So again, we're looking at a dynamic where to go from nothing to something and then go from something to something else, you got to have a stack of cash somewhere. So you got to start putting your money in the right spot. So I do agree with you. It would make more sense to try to run the stock market, but it would also make more sense to be about it after you got the money back, after you reached your top goal, to front run the money and then benefit from the back end, right? Because it's just like going to rob a bank, and then after you rob the bank, you're gonna just spend all of the money. Now you got to go rob another one. It's like, man, if you got away with it the first time, you need to put that money somewhere where that money's paying your ass so that they stop looking for you. You don't need to go back out there and do it again. There shouldn't be no another big score, one more score. This isn't DJ Cali and another one. You know what I mean? It's like if you got it one time and got away with it, bro, you should be able to park it and not have that shit no more. If they didn't catch you the first time, you don't want them to catch you the second time. So notice what we just did though. We established a clear, personalized, and concrete income target with that $72,000 a year after we set up that portfolio. It's not a magic number pulled from headlines, and it is going to be the individual number of the group that's going to be utilizing it, built from the ground up based on the lifestyle that they actually want to live, right? Now, with this $72,000 annual paycheck target in hand, they can move to the second step, which is mapping out where this income will come from. This is what we call the income stack. So imagine it as a pyramid. The base of the pyramid is going to be the foundation, which is the guaranteed income. This is going to be Social Security and pensions that you might. This income is reliable. It is inflation adjusted for Social Security if you get it, and it lasts for a lifetime, as long as you qualify for it. So if a couple were to uh, get their Social Security checks, um, they would be able to find that if they both wait until their full retirement age of like 67, that they can expect to receive a combined income of maybe between 35,000 or a little bit higher than that a month, because it is the Social Security disability where their work credits give them more money than just some really suck, right? But this would mean that they would get about 4,000 a year if they're getting Social Security. If a massive ass brokerage account, you're not getting Social Security, because Social Security only pays you if you don't have more than $2,000 anywhere in your name. So if you've got a savings account with $2,000 just sitting there, if you got a brokerage account with $2,000 just sitting there, they're not giving you any money. They cut you off. So if you have a 200 grand brokerage account somewhere, yeah, they're not going to give you Social Security. They might give you your work credits, but like the SSI, no, they're not giving you that. So delaying your ability to cash in on your retirement is a powerful tool here. So you want to wait from 62 to 70, and that can increase your monthly benefits by more than 70%, which is a guarantee. And inflation protected return you can't get anywhere else if you survive that long. So they have a target of about $72,000 and a guaranteed base of about $42,000. If you didn't have that guaranteed base of about $42,000, you might want to build a brokerage account that gave you no less than $42,000. Even if it was 10%, you would have a $400,000 brokerage account paying you for $420,000 a year. Well, it might be 420,000 paying you 10%, giving you the 42,000 a year. However, you're looking at your basic income, that's what you would have. And that means that you have an income gap of about $30,000 a year. This is the amount their personal savings, their nest egg, whatever a new funds needs to generate. to have the 72 grand cut of your brokerage account. You do that. Diversification is better if you have more facets of income. But if you had one facet of income that was doing it, it is what it is. But this is going to bring us to the middle layer of income stack, which is going to be your portfolio. This is going to be your 401k, your IRA, brokerage accounts. If you're not already using this to fill the 42% or the $42,000, it's going to cover the other 30. And this is where we have to talk about safe withdrawal rates. For decades, the rule of thumb was the 4% rule, which states that you could withdraw 4% of your starting portfolio value, adjust that amount for inflation each year, and have a very high probability of your money lasting for 30 years. However, in today's world, many experts suggest a more conservative starting rate is prudent, with recent research pointing to around 3.9% depending on asset allocation and fees. So let's use that 4% for a minute, simplistically, as it's still a valid starting point for deductions or decisions. If you needed a portfolio to generate about $30,000 a year and they use a 4% withdrawal rate, the math is going to be simple here. You take the income you need, divide that with divide it by the withdrawal rate of $30,000 by 4, which is $750,000. So you're, well, not 4. You're going to take the $30,000 and divide it by 0.04, which is like 4%. That's going to be $750,000. And that's the magic bullet number. We have derived to and that's actually the second time I come to that number. But do you see the pro difference? Isn't a magic number here either. It is a calculated number. It was the last thing that we figured out, not the first. So if we wanted to do the $750,000 plus the 4% inflation cost, we might want to run around 800,000 or 900,000, or even put our middle finger on the 100,000 after taxes. We would still have 80 or 70, because if they took 25 or 30% out of it for taxes, we would be sitting somewhere closer to $70,000 after taxes anyway, which means we'd be $2,000 short. So if we were writing a brokerage account to offset it, taxation and inflation, probably be upward of 125 or 100 just to ride the brokerage account, interest based only, which puts us back to that number 2024. But this is going to be rooted in personal spending, guaranteed income sources, and a disciplined withdrawal strategy. It's going to have context. It has a job to do, generate $30,000 of annual paycheck or more. And this is going to be an infinitely more powerful and realistic approach than chasing a vague, context free 7-figure goal. Now, let's layer in the unorthodox buffers. Finally, there's going to be a top layer of income stack, which I call the buffers. This includes things like part time work if you want to, income from rental properties, or even a health savings account. This can be used to cover medical bills and at a tax free rate, freeing up other portfolio money. It can also include geo arbitrage, spending part of the year or even relocating to a lower cost region or a country where basic living expenses can be 30 to 60% lower than a typical US metro city, effectively shrinking the income you need. These buffers add flexibility and resilience to the plan. And here's reality: surveys show that around 20% of retirees either go back to work or keep working in some capacity. And that's what's called unretirement. So just when you thought you were done, nah, you got to go greet people at Walmart. because you can't stay home. You can't afford it. Even earning $10,000 or even $15,000 a year part time can dramatically reduce the amount you need to pull from your portfolio, potentially turning a failed savings target into a workable plan. So the cash flow blueprint is incomplete, or it's going to be complete now that we've done it, but it would be incomplete if you just went off of it on a whim. So if you went from a fuzzy, anxiety inducing concept of a nest egg to a clear, actionable plan, you now know that you would need to generate $72,000 annual paycheck. And then you know that $42,000 of it would be coming from Social Security. And then you know that your portfolio needs to be at least around $750,000 to have reliable availability to generate the remaining $30,000 to cover your $72,000 year plan. On top of that, you would also know that you have levers because you have that house hacking of the spare room, downsizing, geo arbitrage, a small rental or side hustle, and even temporary unretirement if markets are rough. So you now have a real target based on a real plan plus real world flexibility. But having a plan is only half of the battle. A plan without defenses is fragile. It will shatter at the first sign of trouble. And that brings us to our second pillar of which is equally critical. The first pillar was about building the engine of your retirement paycheck. The second pillar is about building an armored vehicle around it. The magic number approach has zero defense. It's like setting on that 30-year journey in a convertible with no roof, no seat belts, and no spare tire. 30-year plan, on the other hand, built for the storm. It anticipates failure points and builds in defenses. This transforms a fragile financial house of cards into a robust brick fortress. We need to build a shield to defend your 30-year income stream from four primary enemies. Sequence of return, which is what I explained to you last week, was when the stock market dips and you have to pull out money anyway after you've built up such a big portfolio. Inflation is going to be another one. Longevity risk and healthcare shocks. So let's start with the most dangerous and least understood enemy, sequence of return. Sounds complex, but the concept is simple and absolutely vital. The order in which you get your investment returns matters just as much, if not more, than the average return itself. A downturn in the first few years of your retirement can be catastrophic in a way that a downturn 15 years in simply in simple terms is not going to impact you. So if it hits you right now as soon as you retired, it would be worse for you now than what it would be if it happened 15 years after you retired. So let me illustrate this. Let's say that you had it set up. You're retired with your $750,000 portfolio and began your $30,000 annual withdrawals. And then let's imagine two alternative universes. First universe, the market soars for the first 3 years of your retirement. Your portfolio grows substantially, creating massive cushions. When a crash comes later, they're withdrawing from a much larger base and the plan easily. Now, in an alternative universe, the moment you retire, the market crashes. In a year, first year, your portfolio loses 20%. You started at 750,000. Now the market drops your money down to 600,000. Then you withdraw to $30,000 and now you're at $570,000. You've effectively lost 24% of your capital in the first year. This is called selling into a down market. And it is the cardinal sin of retirement income plans, which is one of the reasons why I tell you guys to set up brokerage accounts that have dividends paying to you because you don't have to sell shit if your dividends are paying you. When you're forced to sell more shares when prices are low just to get the same amount of money in cash, permanently damaging your portfolio's ability to recover. Even if the market roars back in later years, you may never catch up, and this is going to be how retirements fail. That early sequence of bad returns creates a death spiral. So, what's going to be the defense against the silent killer? It's a combination of smart asset allocations and bucket strategy. And I've talked about this bucket strategy once before. So, as you reach your retirement, you want to gradually reduce your risk. A 100% stock portfolio is just too volatile. I would use it to get there, but you want to have something else to hold you there. This is often done using glide path, shifting from maybe 80% stocks to something more balanced like 50-50. Because like we talked about with Myron from Fresh and Fit, he's got real estate portfolios, he's got the podcast paying for him, he's got endorsement deals, book signings, all this other stuff that's going on. That he's got money coming in from other areas. He's 36 right now, 36, 37 years old, $8 million, multiple areas of money coming in, not just one source. So if you built your wealth off of the brokerage account and then you diversified from the brokerage account and took the assets to invest in other things so that you had more money making money for you, now you've got the brokerage account paying and you've got the houses paying. And how I mentioned this before, how you might do that is build that $800,000 brokerage account, borrow $400,000, buy a rental property, pay the brokerage out of the brokerage account till the rental property starts paying you for the brokerage account. The profits are paying off a loan, so you're tax exempt on that. But once you've either paid down your brokerage account or built up enough revenue, you could then leverage your line of credit again, get another 400 grand and go and buy another property, or you can leverage the property that you have to buy another property. If you had a $400,000 house and you leverage house $200,000, you get 20% to get $1 million apartment complex, and now you're really rolling in it. You got $1 million apartment complex. You've got a $800,000 brokerage account and a $400,000 house. The tenants are paying for the two houses. Your brokerage account is paying for itself, and you keep the difference between your brokerage account paying itself back plus what you keep for your standard of living. At some point, some of this stuff is going to subside to the debt is going to subside to a level where you can leverage more assets so that you can get more things, get you another property. Because if you got you another $400,000 property cash up front, and you leverage half of that property to get you another $1 million property. Now you've got two $1 million properties and two $400,000 properties, which means that you now have a collection of rental properties, and you're still living off your brokerage account. And what we crunched the numbers, Michael, something to the magnitude of like $120,000 a month off of those multi-million dollar apartment complexes. But even if it was $15,000 per complex a month, you'd still be making like 20 or $30,000 a month if you paid somebody else to manage the properties and do the turnarounds for the complexes. You would still find yourself making far more money doing that and still being able to cut yourself a paycheck than what you would if you was living from paycheck to paycheck. Now, the bucket strategy is going to take this a step further. You divide your money into three conceptual buckets. Bucket one is going to be your cash reserves. It's going to hold 1 to 3 years worth of your income gap. So, like 30 to $90,000 in ultra safe cash or money market funds. This is going to be the money that you draw from in your monthly paycheck option. Bucket two is going to be the medium term bucket. It's going to hold another 5 to 10 years of expenses in a balanced mix of bonds and some stable stocks. It is the job of the stocks to steadily grow and refill the first bucket. Because if your stock market is refilling your bank account and you use your bank account to pay for things, all you have to do is continue to put money back into your bank account, and your bank account will always increase in above and beyond inflation and taxation. Bucket three is going to be a long-term growth engine, holding the bulk of your stocks. This bucket is designed for growth and is expected to be volatile. And here's going to be why this works. When the market crashes, like in the second example, you don't have to panic. You don't sell a single stock while the market is down. The next few years of income, you're sitting safely in bucket one, completely insulated from the turmoil. This cash bucket gives you the time and the emotional strength to let the stock portfolio recover without being forced to sell at the worst possible moments. Now, this is going to neutralize sequence risk. And you want to add a modern twist to it because if the downturn is severe or prolonged, that's when retirees choose to unretire, going back to work part time or consulting for a couple of years instead of draining their portfolio while the market's down. Reports show roughly 1 in 5 older Americans is either back in the workforce or continuing it after initially retiring, often citing inflation and market volatility as a key reason. That's not failure. Like I said earlier today, that is using flexibility at your own risk to manage your tools to be successful. Special shout out to Wolf. Wolf slid in for the day. What's up, man? We're talking about a 30-year retirement plan. We're three-quarters of the way through, though. We've been here for a good grip, covering a lot of information here. I know we're dealing with a lot of drop frames tonight. Got to master reset the whole system yet again, but we're gonna go ahead and keep giving you guys all the information that you need to be successful. Special shout out to Uncommon Woman. Uh, you guys missed a lot of stuff that happened over the past week. We Uncommon Woman, you should have been here 2 days ago. We were talking about the value of women on the show. That was a twist in and of itself. Then we covered a lot of different ways for you to improve yourself in making decisions in your relationships and building yourself up successfully yesterday. And then on Monday and Tuesday, we've been giving you guys some information about how the politics is negatively impacting your money. Is that I've been investing in entertainment. That's good. That's good. You should invest. If you invest in Sony or PlayStation, or if you're investing in theme parks, it's fantastic. You should invest in carnivals and uh, JetBlue. You should invest in airlines, cruise lines. That's good. Oh, you said you built a paintball field. Okay, well, if you're gonna rent out the paintball field for people to go out there and paintball, you can make money off of that. That's a good investment. Matter of fact, you can charge them like $10 or $20 to enter, and then just unlimited time. But you're gonna sell the ammo. You can, matter of fact, you can sell the ammo and rent the guns, right? And that you'll make a ton of money off of them being there as long as they want. But they got to pay for the ammo and rent the guns, and you'd be making a buck. And then if you got extra gear, man, you could sell a whole lot of stuff with the paintball field. And it's something that doesn't require maintenance because it's not like you got to wash the paint off of the field after they're done with it. $40 a person, yeah, you can do $40 a person. You can do $40 a person. Or if you look at your competitors, if they're doing 40 or $50 a person, you could do like a membership plan for $25 a person or $20 a person, where they're going to pay an automatic membership, and they come back as much as they want, and it's a monthly membership. And then again, you're selling the and renting out the equipment where they pay for the paintballs, but they're renting the guns and the armor and the helmets and the shoes and all of this stuff. And then if you had a food court over there, you could sell the food over there and you can overprice the food. And then because they're paying for convenience, you know what I mean? They'll spend like $2 for a can of soda because they're thirsty. Or not $2 for a can of soda, but $1.25 if you put some ice in it. So yeah, it's doable. It's doable because there's a plot of land that you don't got to do nothing to it. You know, whatever's there is going to be used as cover fire, and you just got to make sure that there's nothing there that they can get hurt with. Yep, two vending machines. There you go. So you're on the way. You can turn that into a thriving business. Now, the second enemy that we're going to be talking about with our 30-year plan is going to be inflation. We touched on this a while back, but it's going to be a silent, relentless parasite on your purchasing power. A plan that doesn't account for it is doomed. Even modest 3% inflation means that you're probably going to see a $72,000 expense in a year that will require nearly $100,000 in year 20. So in year one, you might be like, oh, yeah, my 72,000 is good. But in year 20, you might need $100,000 to pay for the same quantity of stuff just to maintain the same lifestyle. So the defense here is going to be layered. Your portfolio must keep a healthy allocation to stocks for long term growth. Some investors use inflation protection like um, TIPS, which is inflation protection bonds, and a sound withdrawal strategy like a 4% rule. This is explicitly designed to be inflation adjusted, ensuring that your paycheck keeps up with rising costs. Geo arbitrage is again going to be another often ignored inflation defense. But if your home country, your city becomes brutally expensive, retirees can and do move either to a low cost state or a smaller town or even abroad where their living costs can be 30 to 60% lower without necessarily sacrificing the quality of life. That effectively resets the inflation clock in your favor. Because if your money's still coming from America, if you went to Cuba, $3,000 will go a long way in Cuba. If you had $6,000 coming in, you would be living the life of the king and queen of Colombia, whoever they are, the dictators of Colombia. You'd be living a high life, right? So oh, and then if you went to places like Belarus with $250,000, like you'd be a multimillionaire. So if you had 750 or $800,000 and you went to Belarus, you'd be set. You'd be taking care of a small village, literally. Now our third enemy is going to be longevity risk, the risk of a good thing, and where you're outliving your money. People are living longer than ever. A 65-year-old couple today has a high probability that at least one of them will live to 90 or beyond. So your plan must be stress tested for a 30-year or even 35-year time frame. The defenses you're going to need for this first, delaying Social Security, which provides a longer, larger guarantee where inflation adjusted income for life produced. Second, financial advisors. Use Monte Carlo simulations, software that runs your plan through 1,000 different possible market scenarios to calculate its probability of success. A robust plan that should succeed in 90% or more of those scenarios is going to be what you're hoping for. Third defense can be an annuity, which converts a lump sum into another stream of guaranteed lifetime income. And then finally, the fourth and most explosive enemy is healthcare and long term care, which is LTC. A major health event can blow a hole in the most well constructed plan. Many wrongly assume that Medicare covers everything, but especially does not cover the most financially onerous risk. So, long term custodial care for daily activities like bathing and dressing yourself. Once you get too old to do it for yourself, you got to pay somebody to help you out. The defense is going to be proactive planning. With a health savings account, this is a triple tax advantage healthcare superpower. So, for a larger risk of LTC, the primary defenses are either specific LTC insurances, which is hybrid life insurance policies with an LTC rider, or self funding, which requires explicitly setting aside a significant portion of your assets, ignoring it in uh, um, which isn't a strategy at all. You really can't do that. It's a gamble with your entire financial security, ignoring the fact that you're going to reach an age where people are going to have to change your diaper and wipe your butt and wash your back and everything to that effect. When you start getting 90 years old, you start reaching an age where people got to do for you, right? And despite all of that, if costs run hotter than expected, that's where those weird strategies become serious tools, because some older Americans are living like in RVs and vans because traditional housing has become unaffordable. And while many are forced into it, others adopt mobile living intentionally to slash fixed expenses and region control, because you can get a like one of those 18 vans and live in one of those, take out all the seats in the back, bed, hot plate, good to go. You can get you a mini RV. You can get you a Winnebago and have your house on wheels. Long as nobody crashes into it, you're good to go. It's not glamorous Instagram content, but it's people bending the math of retirement back into their favor. By building the risk management shield, you move from hope to strategy, and you are no longer just hopping the market or hoping that things are going to be going according to plan as you bounce around from thing to thing. You are building a system that is designed to withstand the inevitable storms with backup plans that include not just financial products, but lifestyle pivots, location changes, and, if necessary, temporary unretirement. Now, I know that this is a lot of information. We've gone from a simple, flawed number to a more complex but inflationary and more robust plan. So, if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, that's completely normal. The decisions that you make in the years leading up to retirement are critical because they decide how safe and enjoyable your retirement truly feels. This is why I have a process that is so important to help. I've put together a lot of information on checklists that's going into our membership to walk you through these first two pillars: calculating your cash flow and identifying your risks. It is a great first step to put what you're learning into action. And I mean, once you get into the membership, it's no additional cost. So you're going to see me dropping that into the membership by the end of this week. Uh, he says, "Yo, boss, hello, 027. Special shout out from Twitch. We got folks coming in from everywhere today. It's been a while since Twitch was vocal, but we're live, we're active on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, so everybody can comment appropriately. Oh, we got another one here. What's good, my man? We're talking about how to improve your odds of having a successful retirement by preparing for it. Typically on this show, we talk about ways to make, save, and invest money. We have a live podcast. We run at least an hour. Sometimes we run 2 to 6 hours, depending on the positive involvement of the people in the show. Um, and we give you guys information on different ways for you to make, save, invest money, different ways for you to build your own business, and digital nomads, and living in other countries, and how politics impacts your money. And we kind of give you guys a lot of different ways for you guys to really change your mentality, because this is a male driven podcast from the male's perspective. And we really want to give you guys more opportunities to build yourself up to be successful. Because I mean, you can get there, but it does require you to apply yourself. And in order for you to apply yourself, you have to figure out where are you in fact implying yourself. Like, are you going to put yourself in? You want to be rich? Everybody wants to be rich, but I mean, you got to put in effort to get rich. So I talked to you guys about how to invest. I talked to you guys about where to put it, what to save, changing your spending habits. Because as I talked to Cowgirl last week, that if you were living on 30% of your income, you could spend 15 to 20% of it on discretionary spending and still take the other 50% and save it and reach $1 million status inside of 10 years, 10 to 20 years. And you could still build the type of brokerage that would pay you the standard of living that you would need in 10 to 20 years. If you did it for 30 years, you would be enjoying your life with 20% of your income and saving for your future to continue to enjoy your life for the rest of your life. A lot of people live off of 85 to 95% of their income or more, paycheck to paycheck, no matter how much money you make. If you make $250,000 a year, but you spend 240,000 of it, you still only got 5 grand. The difference between you having 5 grand on a $240,000 lifestyle versus having 5 grand on a $30,000 lifestyle is absolutely nothing outside of how good you feel when your neighbors look at you. That's why I tell you guys about putting your money in better places. But make sure that you guys like and subscribe and hit those memberships as y'all come through. He's on. Now you're on to something. I've been on this since 2023. I've been running this podcast for so long, man. Y'all ain't been coming. Y'all ain't been coming. This been running every day. 365 days a year. We started about 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, typically about 11:30 during daylight savings time. But when outside of daylight savings time, it's about 11:05 Eastern Standard Time every night of the week. So we're here every day. We here on the weekends, on the holidays, during Super Bowl, during WrestleMania. We're here. We're here every day, and we're always talking about ways to make, save, and invest money. It's just that y'all didn't think about coming here, but now that y'all are here and y'all realize that we have, especially on the YouTube side of things, if you go to the YouTube side, we have a whole archive of years of information about how to set up LLCs, build trust, build your savings account, set up a portfolio. I've got stocks going across the screen that we curated already. That's the dividend rotation strategy that we're going to be talking about on Tuesday, where we follow the trends of the stocks and give you guys which ones to invest in. It's in the membership, which ones to look forward to, where you can catch some on the low, where we got stocks that are giving back 20% right now. Used to be giving back 17, 18%. We got some real estate investment trusts that we've been following, undervalued stocks, giving away 20% right now. If you picked it up and you held it, you don't got to sell stocks. You just buy them and hold them and sit on them. Even with taxation, take 3-4% off the top, you'd be pocketing after taxes still 16, 17% return on your investment instead of doing the S&P 500 at 10%, and then after taxes you pocket like 7%. I'm showing you how you can pocket an extra 10% above the market average, with undervalued stocks. People don't pay attention to it. Yeah, it's real dedication. It's real dedication. But it takes dedication to make yourself a higher valued individual. It takes yourself dedication, years of dedication to build your brand, to set yourself up for financial success, to set yourself up for the lifestyle that you want to have. Because while wanting to be rich is a really good pipe dream, the truth of the matter is making yourself rich takes work. It takes work. It's not easy. We were talking at the top of the show, like the host of Fresh and Fit went from $50,000 a year at 22 to $8 million at 36. The man did 10 years and he's a multimillionaire. He just put his money in the right places and he didn't waste his money on other people and insignificant things that would not benefit him. By prioritizing yourself and prioritizing your own success, you find yourself in a better position to build up wealth. Because as long as you're wasting money on bullshit, as long as you're wasting money on dating and hooking up with chicks and everything to that effect, and you're spending all this money on a first date, $500-700 a date, two, three, $500 a date, OnlyFans and all this other stuff, you're throwing away money to people who don't even give a shit about you. Loaning money to friends, bailing people out of jail, all the stuff that you do for the sake of other people that doesn't benefit you. And you don't even recoup that money. But if you put that money in a place where your money's making money for you, you're not allowing yourself to have people take advantage of you in that fashion, which allows you to preserve more of your wealth, which allows you to have a more of an abundance, which allows for you to build something that nobody else is willing to build, which is your financial stability. Because all you're going to get from Social Security disability is like $1,000 a month, unless you got a lot of credits when you retire. All right. And where are you going to live at that with $1,000 a month? Not very many places. So we're coming down to the final and perhaps most important piece of the puzzle for tonight. We've designed the plan with the cash flow blueprint and built the defenses with the risk management shield. But none of that's going to matter if the plot panics, if the pilot panics, right? Plot thickens, pilot panics. This is going to be the final pillar that is directly about you. You can have the most mathematically perfect retirement plan in the world, but if you can't execute it, it is going to be a worthless plan. The biggest risk to your money isn't the market or inflation, it is you and how you spend your money. It is going to be the human sitting in the cockpit, susceptible to fear, greed, and panic, especially greed and lifestyle creep. So the pillar is going to be about building the system to keep you from making critical errors during the turbulence of a 30-year journey. A shocking number of financial plans fail not because of bad math, but because of bad behavior. So let's look at all the most common pitfalls and their antidotes. The first is optimism bias. We're hardwired to think it'll all work out somehow without ever putting any effort into making it fix, right? This vague optimism leads to one of the biggest retirement mistakes, starting late and saving too little. The antidote is a written plan and automation. When you put your plan on paper, it becomes real. It's a commitment device, a pre made decision matrix for when your future emotional self is tempted to do something stupid, extremely foolish. The second part is the automation. The best way to defeat your flawed human instinct is to remove them from the equation. Setting up automatic contributions to your retirement accounts. Use auto escalation features to increase your savings rates by 1% each year. Multiply large firms or multiple large firms suggest a savings rate of around 12 to 15% of your income is a solid target over a career, and automation is a surest way to get there. But if you're doing more than that, if you're doing 20 or 30%, 40 or 50%, you're going to see a whole lot more success. But realistically speaking, since most people live from paycheck to paycheck, 10 to 15% is a pretty good way to start, 12 to 15%. Now, the second pitfall is panic selling, driven by deep seated aversion to loss. When the market plummets, every instinct screams sell, make the pain stop. This is how investors lock in permanent losses. The antidote is that your bucket strategy is going to be beneficial. Your cash bucket is your psychological fortress. Knowing that you have years of living expenses safe from market carnage gives you the breathing room to ignore the noise. And if you're getting paid off of dividends instead of getting paid off of selling growth stocks or gold or silver or Bitcoin, instead of waiting for it to work upward for you, you can just collect the guaranteed dividends and just hold it because the value of the stock doesn't matter as long as the company stays open. The dividends are going to be the same unless you have a company that slashes its dividend prices, which is why you don't want to rely 100% on real estate investment trusts and BDCs. You want to use those to expedite growth, but then redirect your capital to other industries to maintain stability in your share value. It says, do you invest in any mining companies? Yeah, I gave you guys a whole laundry list with the core satellite portfolio. I gave you guys a whole laundry list of mining companies in one of the shows when we were talking about precious metals. You said they just discovered one of the largest deposits of rare metals in Alaska. and are currently making a 200-mile road to access it. But I've been telling you guys about buying the ETFs related to precious metals and precious minerals since I covered the topic about precious metals and precious minerals. So if you want to get the show, you just type in precious metals or precious minerals or the word metals or the word minerals, and you'll get all the shows related to that. And I covered the shows and then all of the ETFs and stocks that you can invest into having to buy the physical metals because yeah, you can get them and hold them in a safe in your house, but you have to understand that erosion, oxidation, other such situations that negatively impacts your possession of the physical item. You should get some gold and silver doubloons so that in case the market crashes and cash is no longer a thing, gold still holds its value, silver still holds its value. You can always walk around with a bag of gold and silver coins when times get tough, when the apocalypse hits, when zombies start ruling the world, and then you can just start flicking coins at people because it is what it is. Or if you want to spend more and not spend more, but save more uh, uh, with your mentality invested in cryptocurrencies or digital currency, then you want to be able to put all your money up online and let it make money for you. Just note that as long as you're in a situation while you have internet, you can access your cash, but go to a location where there's no internet, you don't have any cash. So at some point, you have to redirect your digital currency from online to a physical bank where you can go to that bank and withdraw it out in cash. And you need to, at some point, take that money from that physical bank and put it into a physical safe in your house so that you don't have to worry about going to the bank in case there's no power at the bank. So at your house, you should have some gold and silver coins and some cash and maybe a watch and 3 or 5 or 7 passports and a couple guns in a safe somewhere. And invest in ammo. If the market does crash, it's great for bartering. You ain't trying to sell no ammo. You want to because what I thought what Jolin was up here talking about melting down silver and making bullets out of it. Man, at $52 an ounce, I am not about to knock somebody back with a $52 bullet. That's okay. I'll go get them dollar RIP G2 research ammos and $1.25 a piece and fuck them off with that. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to barter with bullets. Yeah, I can barter with bullets, but it's going to be around in a barrel, not for sale. If we're going to negotiate, we're going to negotiate the way the pirates negotiate. We're going to have a parlay. If the government collapsed, no martial law. We're the only person that's got the loudest voice is the one with the most ammo. So, I want to be the one that's got a lot to say. So you're right, definitely. You want to make sure that you get a lot of ammo. You want to get a lot of ammo. You want to have backup firearms. You want to have more than one. It's good to have one, but it's good to have three. You want to have a short range, a mid range, and a long range. Do you need a whole room full of ammunition? I don't think you need a room. I don't think you need a whole back room that's nothing but firearms because you can only use so many of them at a time and they can take more of it from you if you collect more of it. But if you've got three, a handgun, a shotgun, and a long range rifle, that's pretty much all you need. You got your long range rifle to catch them before they get to your house. You got the short range shotgun that can hit them when they get to the door, and then you got the handgun that you take with you to slice them up when they're inside the rooms. You say you got tens of thousands. I know George Zimmerman has tens of thousands too, but he ain't got none now. They'll take it. Now, another tool that we think about when we're working on our behavior patterns with our retirement is the 48-hour rule. Because when you feel overwhelmed with the urge to sell, you want to impose a mandatory 48-hour cooling off period, which worked well when Donald Trump had that tariff thing happening. Everybody tried to sell over the weekend. Monday, the market dipped. Everything went back to normal on Tuesday. I waited 3 days. I seen it and I was like, it'll bounce back. The next day it bounced back, right? During that time, you must review your written financial plan when you're looking at how things are not going the way you wanted it to go. This is a small gap of time that allows you to and your rational brain to catch up with your panicked and emotional brain. The third pitfall is going to be the flip side of fear, which is performance chasing, and FOMO, which is fear of missing out. A lot of people have this experience, especially women. Cowgirl was up here talking about that the other day. "Oh, we don't want to miss out on life. Trying to save up for our future while saving for our future is good. We should just go with the flow in life." And I'm like, no, no. You should be able to put away a little bit of this, spend less money on your baseline so that your baseline is 30% of your standard of living. Then you have 20% of your money that you can waste on living life to the fullest right now. And then the other 50% you put towards your retirement. If you're living at 95% of your income and you reduce your spending by 20%, you're now living at 75% of your income and putting away 25%. If you can't cut back another 15% of baseline spending, you don't need to be having fun with nobody else. You need to be getting a smaller house, getting a smaller apartment, moving out of the expensive neighborhood to show up for your friends, trade in your expensive car and buy you a cheaper car. So you go from a luxury model to an economy size. You go from an SUV to a compact car. You want to go from financing to owning cash up front. You want to change the way you do things so that you're spending less money because of fear of missing out. You're trying to keep up with the Joneses. You want to live the life of somebody else's Instagram reel where they're posting something once a month or once a year and a collection of stuff that they got up there. You're like, oh, they've got such a great life. That's not what they do every day. That's what they do once every blue moon. And blue moons don't come that often. If it was a red moon, they're doing it really often, right? Twice a year, probably. But in order for you to get that kind of lifestyle, you got to save for that. So if you see a particular stock that's going to go to the moon and you abandon your carefully crafted plan to pile into the hottest asset, often right before it peaks, the antidote again is that you have your written plan, a commitment to rebalancing. Your written plan is to have your constitution of rebalancing what needs to be rebalanced, selling some of what has done far too well and buying what has done poorly. Because when you're selling while the stock is high, that does trigger taxation, but you're buying into a stock that is low, which allows you to buy that one at a discount. And now you've benefited twice because you're going to get more dividends per share, but you're also going to profit on the difference of the stock after it grew. So if you bought the stock while it was under, let's say you bought the stock at $5, the stock went to $10, and at $10 a share, you had 100 shares, so you made $100 on top of your $100 that you put down. If you sold $100 of your $200 worth of shares, and then you bought another stock that dipped from $5 to $2.50, and now you're buying more of that one, you've got more shares all the way around. You profited the $100 in growth, but you're also buying $100 more of another stock that is worth 50% of its value right now, and you're still getting dividends from all of those stocks. This is going to be the discipline. Counterintuitive acts that keeps your plan on track. That's what you want to do. Countering the market. Here's a behavioral twist that ties those unorthodox strategies because too many people rule out powerful options. Working part time, moving somewhere cheaper, renting out a part of their home because they've emotionally locked into an outdated picture of retirement as I never work again and I never move. The data shows a large share of retirees are already working, moving, and downsizing. You're not failing if you build those into your plan. You're being realistic. Finally, there's the retirement finish line mentally. We think of our retirement date as the end. So we stop paying attention and we switch those thoughtless ATM modes on and start utilizing those. The antidote is understanding that retirement is the start of a new 30-year journey or even longer that requires ongoing navigation. This means quarterly reviews. At least once a quarter, sit down and review your plan. Are you on track? Do you need to make course corrections? And beyond the money, you need to plan for your time, your ability to enjoy yourself, because a retirement without purpose can be a hollow victory. Integrating this purpose plan into your financial planning transforms retirement from a simple financial withdrawal to a rich and fulfilling new chapter of life. So, what's the big takeaway here? For decades, we've been sold a lie, the lie of magic numbers, a single solitary figure that promises security but delivers a false sense of confidence. It's a fantasy that crumbles under pressure because it ignores your personal spending, the march of time, market risks, and our own behaviors. We saw today that the median person is nowhere near this supposed magic number. And more importantly, that the number alone wouldn't be enough. The reality, the true path to durable financial peace of mind is not a number. It's a process. It's a 30-year plan. It's not a 20-year plan to get you started, 30-year plan to keep you going thereafter. Wolf says, what do you think about cryptocurrency? I've covered several topics on crypto. He said, personally, I don't trust it, but XRP is so cheap right now, it could potentially bang like Bitcoin did. Nope, that's unrealistic. I've also covered a topic on XRP. You should go check out our topic about XRP and our topic about crypto because we covered that in extensive. We covered we covered it. We covered it so much. We it's like being a dead horse at this point. Um, Cryptocurrency is okay if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, it's advanced trading. It's highly volatile. There's a lot of profit involved, but the way the market fluctuates, you're likely to lose more than what you gain because you're not paying attention if you don't know what you're doing. It's not going to wait until you get that girl's phone number. You got to be paying attention to the market unless you're using trade bots and you program those trade bots to function well for you, right? Because trade bots can help you on the climb, but they don't really help you on the fall. You lose less, but you still lose. XRP is a transaction manager. It's not a currency, so you're not going to make money on XRP. XRP is investing in XRP is like investing in cash registers because XRP is a transaction platform. XRP is not a stock portfolio. So anybody who throws up XRP like it's a trading option is doesn't have knowledge of trading when it comes to that because XRP I've covered XRP in extents. It's not you can invest in it for like long term hope and prayer, but short term gains, quick turnarounds, high returns. You still have to sell it because it's going to be a growth stock. If you do buy into it, you have to sell it and it has to be sold higher than what you bought into it in order for you to turn a profit off of it. You would probably get more off of a meme coin than what you would off of XRP. And I don't trust meme coins to save my life. So, I mean, the most stable meme coins that I hear on the market right now is Trump coin and Dogecoin. And I don't have either one of those because, I mean, it's meme coin. So, I mean, it's an interesting question to ask, but it's it's almost like asking the teacher, "What about a period?" during the topic of sentence structure. Kind of not grammar, but I mean, today's not Tuesday. The people who like to throw up XRP, they throw up XRP because they it's almost like heckling in a semi appropriate fashion because XRP is a bad idea. And anybody who buys into bad ideas like XRP is throwing their money away. You might as well just go to a strip club and just give it to all the hookers. At least you'll benefit from it. But like it's not. Don't get XRP. That's what I would tell you. Don't get XRP. But you can try your luck with cryptocurrency. But I would prefer that you get more knowledge about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies before you start buying into cryptocurrencies because I mean it'll ruin your retirement because you're going to put all your money up there. And just like when the market dropped and it went from like 150 down to 87, you would have lost like half your money. If you was, it doesn't matter if it was microtransactions or not, you would have lost half your money just because you put your money up there when it was hot and then it dipped and you're like, damn. And again, it's a growth stock, so it doesn't pay you dividends. So it's gonna it's gonna hurt when you do sell because you're not gonna get back anything that you lost. That Bitcoin seems like it's going to tank. No, it's gonna stable. So it was on the rise when Elon Musk was partnered with Donald Trump, but when Donald Trump and Elon Musk separated, the stock tanked because a lot of the green energy stuff that was passed in a big beautiful bill negatively impacts the way people was investing. So Bitcoin didn't go the way they wanted it to go because Donald Trump did not pass the executive bills that they thought he was going to pass. Bitcoin is highly volatile when it comes down to political decisions. But Bitcoin is also, Donald Trump is supposed to be starting a sovereign wealth fund that's going to be based off of the crypto shares that's been seized from people. So I mean, if you're going to buy into Bitcoin and do a buy and hold, there's a 4% return on on being the funding that backs Bitcoin. But that's almost like having a bond at 4% or 4.1%. If you buy and hold and don't do anything to it, it'll just give you a 4% increase. But it's not going to give you dividends. It's going to give you a 4% increase on the quantity of Bitcoin that you have. But if you sell when the market dips, even if you're getting that 4% increase annually, if the market dips below your buy-in rate, your 4% ain't going to matter. It's going to be gone. If it dips like 50%, if you had 4% increase every year, it's still going to dip below all the money you gained. But if it spikes the year that you sell, all the money that you got in interest plus your principal, you'd be able to get that back. So, if you want to, you can, but I recommend that you know the market before you get into it. Now, back to our retirement. This is going to be a plan that's going to be built around three pillars. First, a cash flow blueprint that stops you from thinking about an intimidating nest egg like buying wasteful stocks in XRP, and starts you to think like a CEO, where you're focusing on generating a reliable monthly paycheck, not wasteful spending, like throwing your money away into Bitcoin when you don't know anything about Bitcoin. Second, you're able to develop a risk management shield that transforms your fragile plan into a resilient fortress, actively defending that paycheck from the chaos of the market crashes and the silent thief of inflation. Third, a behavioral cockpit that acknowledges the greatest threat to your plan, which is you, and builds in a system and rules to keep you, the pilot, from making critical errors during financially turbulent times, like wasting money on bad deals. Layered on top of that is a set of unorthodox but very real levers: unretiring when markets are rough instead of panic selling, moving or geo arbitraging. Geo arbitraging means that you're going to live in a cheap place when things are expensive and then go back to the expensive place when things go back down to be affordable. But this will lower your costs instead of trying to save an impossible number. House hacking or downsizing to turn your biggest expense into a source of cash flow, where you're renting out. You got a 4 or 5 bedroom house, you want to use one room, you rent the rest of the house out to other people to help you offset the cost of your house. Or you rent out the whole house, Airbnb it out or whatever, go live out of a van or something like that. And then you want to rethink what home looks like in retirement altogether. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being prepared. It's about moving from a mindset of, I hope this works, to a position of confidence saying, I have a system and I know it will work. A number is just a target, and a plan is a system. A target can be missed no matter how accurate you think your aim is, and a system can be adapted, endured, and ultimately succeed. Your financial future, which is your peace of mind, your entire 30-year or more retirement, it's far too important to be left to a magic number. It deserves a real plan. So if you want to keep digging into strategies that make a real plan, I highly recommend that you pay attention to some of the upcoming shows that we have on this for the best income strategies for this year, which we're going to have in the membership. Now, I have a question for you guys. What is the single biggest aha moment that you've had watching tonight's show? Was it the reality of median savings, hidden dangers of sequence risk, the power of unorthodox tools like geo arbitrage or unretirement, the idiocracies of XRP, the bad investment in cryptocurrencies, or the importance of a behavioral plan? Let me know in the comments below. Your feedback helps me understand what you're struggling with, and it helps everyone else in this community learn and grow too. So you guys got to pay attention to what we got going on. Now, yet again, I managed to just about get right there at our 2 hour mark almost. We're a little bit under today. I'm on a roll. I got a theme here. Start late, end early. All right. On our way out, I'm going to say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you, ladies, to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I provide you guys with this information to help you guys become higher value men because if you not only improve your financial life, but you also improve your decision making skills, you can live yourself a better life. But it does require you to have logical and rational thinking first and foremost, and then circle back to paying attention to the things that are inside of your control that you can change, that you don't like, so that you can proactively change that and improve your life. Once you've conquered that, then you have the ability to focus on the things that are outside of your control and navigate around them. And ladies, while this is a male driven podcast from the male's perspective, you too can take the information that we're giving you and make yourselves higher value women as well by building your 20 or 30 or 40-year plan, reverse engineering where you want to be at in the future and figuring out what it takes to get there, taking the first steps today to build that plan, paying attention to your virtues, pay attention to your values, pay attention to your ambition, your drive, and your plan, specifically keeping your eyes and ears open for the available suitors that are able to enhance that plan, not just ride the waves of those guys' financial success, that they can actually enhance your plan. The two of you guys can come together and meet that plan together in half the time. Two people can make it to $1 million faster than one. That's a weird question. Where do you get all of this financial knowledge? Research. The one thing I tell y'all every night for 365 days a year is to do your research. And I don't know why very few people do it. Special shout out to Steven. He does it. Michael does it. Bayside did it. FX Trader does it. You know, some people actually listen. Jesse's taking the advice and Jesse's moving up in the ladder. Special shout out to Dylan. Dylan does it. I mean, some people pay attention. This is actually common knowledge. If you don't know where some stuff, I have to do a lot of deep dives in order to find this information, but some of the surface level information, you guys can always just go and ask the Google lady and get some of this stuff. I got way more in depth information. My search engine is not Google, which is ironic because I don't like Google. Google has ads. But if y'all ask the Google lady, y'all can at least find some of the stuff that I found. And then if y'all cross reference everything I give you, you're like, shit, where did you get this from? The Asians made a search engine that Americans don't use, and I'm using it because I got it from one of the guys in Asia, and the search engine is far more detailed, but it's backed by facts and information. I typically use 30 to 50 sources or more every night show. I spend hours curating a script so that I can stay on track outside of heckling and intuitive questionnaires so that I can make sure that I stay on point. Can't forget anything. But I do a lot of research. And not only do I do a lot of research because all of the research is tuned around the impacts of your ability to make, save, and invest money, your ability to sustain your standard of living. There's a common goal there. There's a common theme there. And that common theme actually allows for 5 or 10 or 20 different ideas to come together and make a lot of sense in a lot of different ways that people don't actually think. One thing on the left might not matter to you, and one thing on the right might not matter to you. But if you bring them together, it's like, oh shit, it's either a problem or a solution. But you didn't know because tunnel vision had people paying attention to girls dancing on social media, dudes doing stuff destructive, police officers, corruption, war, red pill, blue pill, black pill podcast, conflicts, people making asses out of themselves or their family members. And we get a kick out of turning our brains off and watching other people act or react. And we forget to look into what benefits ourselves. That's one of the biggest issues that we have. Is that my biggest problem is time. I work 12 to 16 hours a day. After that, I'm drained. Okay, you work 12 to 16 hours a day out of 24 hours, which means you have 12 hours or 8 hours left out of your day. You should have 2 or 3 days off a week, which means that you should have the capabilities to start reorganizing and time management. We've got 5 or 10 shows about time management, anti procrastination shows, and everything to that effect. They help you organize your time. Find 5 things, 3 that are not that important, and 2 that are major things that need to be done. Put them on your to do list for the day. Try to do at least one of the 2 major things that you have to do of the day, and try to do at least 2 or 3 insignificant things that you have to do out of the week. Everything else put off for another day. You can get stuff done. You'll find that you'll conquer a lot more stuff when you're not thinking about how you have 48 hours worth of stuff packed into 12 hours. Likewise, if you spend your money wisely, since you're living at work, bro, you're living at work 12 to 16 hours a day. You're living at work. Your every waking moment is on the job, which means you shouldn't be spending any money because all you do is eat at work, take breaks at work, hang out with your colleagues at work, go home from work, go to sleep, wake up, go back to work. Probably on your days off, you hang out on your job because you spend so much time at work, you don't feel comfortable being anywhere else but work. So, I mean, you shouldn't be spending your money, which means that you should be able to reduce your standard of living, turn off any memberships and subscriptions or anything that you're not benefiting from, cancel anything that you don't use because you spend all your time at work, go from financing a car to owning a car, cash up front, go from the overly expensive rent to since you're never home, reduce it to a 1 bedroom apartment instead of a 3 bedroom apartment, reduce it to a 1 bedroom apartment if you don't own your own house, and reduce your cost. If you reduce your cost down to 30%, you're living on the job, you can put your money away, and eventually you can go from working double overtime every day, every week, every day of the week, down to um 30 hours a week, which frees up the rest of your week. And if you're reducing your work from 12 hours a day, 7 days a week down to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, or even 10 hours a day, 5 or 6 days out of the week, where you have 14 hours a day to yourself and a whole full day off, that still gives you plenty of time to figure out where you're going to put your money, where you're not impulse buying, you're not wasting money on cigarettes and beer, you're not hanging out with the fellas whenever you have time off, you're not wasting money on taking girls out who aren't interested in anything other than what you're paying for them, and start focusing on your 20 to 30 year plan. There's a way that you can do it. People who say they don't have time are scared to try. It's not that you don't have time. You don't want to make the time. Because the time that you spent on my podcast, you could have done a window on window with your iPhone and be able to listen to the podcast in the background while you're listening to what I'm telling you about moving your money around so that your money is in a better spot. Opportunity cost. This is a 2 hour podcast, and during the 2 hours that you could have been asleep, you're on this podcast, you could have been moving your money around while you're listening to me tell you about how you can benefit from these things. And then you could do your research and say, hey, this does benefit me, and put your money in a place where your money's going to make money for you while you sleep. That's opportunity cost. That's taking advantage of a good thing. A miracle is just an individual that is taking advantage of the 0.01% opportunity of success. And you're still going to make yourself successful. But if you say it's hopeless, it will be hopeless. Those individuals that say I'm not always going to be like this, but don't put any time or effort into changing that is not going to be any different than this. You have to change your frame of thought. You have to change your prioritization of time. You have to change what you do on a day to day basis so that you can start getting improvement. Because if you keep doing the same thing you was doing for the last 10 years, you're going to be in the same place 10 years from now that you are today. But if you start doing things differently today and start changing your life in 2026 so that 2027 is better, then you will be doing better. I own everything 226 acres, two houses, trucks, tractors, now a paintball field contact maintenance. But that don't change the fact that if you working for all of this stuff, if this stuff isn't automated for you, bro, you have to stop working somewhere. You're gonna reach an age where you can't maintenance all this stuff. You're gonna need a crew to handle that 226 acres, somebody to maintenance the two houses, somebody to run the paintball field for you, somebody to fix the trucks and tractors, somebody to use the trucks and tractors, somebody to drive you around when you can no longer do it. You still got to make changes. If you want to go from 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day of work to 5 hours a day of work or no work at all, you still have to change your life. You can be a multi-millionaire and have no fucking free time to yourself. You can be built on financial success and still be stressed out every day of the week. But that still means you have to change the way you do you. If your money is looking right, but you still ain't got no free time to yourself, you still got a headache, you still stressed out, you still living from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, struggling to make ends meet, struggling to keep things afloat, struggling to do more things than what you can delegate to other people. At the end of the day, you're not prioritizing your time. You don't have enough time because you don't make yourself time. If you got enough resources where everything could be automated and you're still up 16 hours a day running shit, that's because you just want to be there. You just want to be in charge of everything. But that's not retirement. Retirement is not being in charge of everything. Retirement is walking away from the responsibility and getting paid for the work without having to do the work. That's retirement. That's finally saying, look, I'm going to give you the keys to the office. Don't fuck it up. That's what it's about. And just keep getting paid off of it. The same way Vince McMahon gave it to Triple H and Triple H sold it to TKO and Vince McMahon is about to buy it back from TKO. When he retired, when Vince McMahon was done, he walked away from it. He was like, you know what? That's it. You know what I mean? And whatever happens to it happens. But you gotta prioritize yourself because just like I told Jolin, he's a roofer, broken foot, second time in a row. Bro, at some point your health is not gonna hold up 220 acres. At some point, your health is not going to hold up the two houses on the 226 acres and the paintball field. Eventually, you got to stop. And when that eventually comes, if you're not prepared to stop, how you going to take care of yourself? Especially when you need extra money to pay somebody else to take care of you for you. When somebody else got to feed you because you too old to feed yourself. When somebody else got to bathe you because you can't physically wash yourself. When somebody got to wipe your bottom and change your diaper and everything like that effect because you're too old to not be able to do it for yourself. When you reach certain ages, 80, 90 years old, you're not going to have the same motor skills that you have at 30 and 40. When you start getting 75, 80 years old, you're not necessarily going to be driving yourself on a regular basis. Some states be snatching your driver's license and be like, no. And you got to start getting a chauffeur. They're gonna be driving Miss Daisy. So you got to figure out like what benefits your end goal. And that's what today's show was all about. You being able to benefit your end goal. He said, you're right though. I have a little time for other stuff. So you have the time for things that you want to do, but you don't have the time to do the things that could free up more time for you. It's all about your personal goals and your personal interests. If you want it done correctly, you have to do it yourself. It's hard to find good help or people you can trust. That's not altogether true. The point of automation is being able to hire people that are good enough to do it as good as you and then train them to train other people to do it as good as you. And if you find somebody that's a diamond in the rough that does it better than you have that person replace you. At the end of the day, your goal is to expand until you have phased the responsibility for yourself out of the operation. Doesn't matter how it runs, even if it runs at 80% capacity, because nobody's ever going to be as good as you are. Even if it's running at 80% capacity, you don't have to do it. It is still standalone, self sufficient, and it is functioning well enough that you can stop working. You have a mindset that prioritizes your responsibility, your duty boundness to continue working. But the truth of the matter is that you are not going to be able to keep doing this. As John Cena said, you're going to find yourself one step slower, 1 minute too soon, 1 second too short, and that's when it's time to quit. When the young bucks is just a little bit faster than you, a little bit stronger than you, a little bit more dedicated than you, showing up more often than you, able to stay at work longer than you, it's time to stop, bro. So phasing yourself out deliberately, because phasing yourself out deliberately does two things. It builds your ability to retire, but phasing yourself out of the work allows you to focus on expansion. If you're not doing a day-to-day grind, you can expand. With 220 acres, you should have all kind of shit going on 220 acres. If you don't have like 25 or 30 subdivisions built on that, I don't know what the hell. You know, having 220 acres and having 220 acres of rental property is two different things. And having 220 acres of rental property with a property management managing it for you is another thing. That again removes you from the equation where you're still getting paid to do absolutely nothing. Doesn't matter if it runs at 150% or if it runs at 80%. It can run at 75%. If it's turning you a profit and you don't have to work for it, the difference is you have bought back your free time. That's what you have to do. You have to think about the end goal. But as long as you're willing to live life to the moment and burn the candle at both ends, you're going to end up continuously in a position where you're just not going to be able to find a way out. But when your health declines, you're going to be forced to retire. You're going to be forced to retire like all the others were forced to retire. You're not going to retire champion though. You're going to retire beaten down, worn out, exhausted, frustrated, but you're going to be forced to retire. And when you do, that's when you're going to ask yourself, what do I do now? Should have been planning that the whole time. So that's all I got for you guys for tonight. I want to thank you guys for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Special shout out to Wolfman.
Higher ground! Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. That's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.